Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing a backup camera on this Nissan Frontier. Now in this install we're going to integrate this backup camera to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. The cool thing about this install here today, we're not just installing any sort of universal backup camera or doing a tailgate handle bezel backup camera, which will integrate and replace the OEM bezel found in the tailgate with one that accommodates a backup camera for an OEM finish and look. So let's head over to the bench to show you the kit that we're using in today's install. Alright, so here at the bench, the parts that we're going with is this master tailgater bezel kit, and essentially here it replaces this entire ABS plastic trim bezel located on the tailgate with one with a new handle that has the integrated backup camera. Now you can see that it's ready to go for you to swap over your factory parts, including your key cylinder and your OEM emblem. And included with this kit is your main wiring harness. Now what we'll do is we'll get this all installed first, and then we'll show you how to run the wiring underneath the truck. This wiring kit has a long length of wire and an RCA end to go to any sort of aftermarket screen that can display an RCA analog input, in most cases an aftermarket radio. Off this, it does have an integrated reverse trigger wire, and this will run along the frame of the truck. This end will plug into the camera harness or the camera that's on the bezel itself, and then this end generally runs up to your reverse light or your tail light there, and you have a couple of connections here. You generally have a power and a ground wire, or red and a black wire, and you also have integrated into this that reverse trigger that's also found on your RCA end. It's just a pass-through. The reason why they include that, in case you want to hook this up to the reverse trigger wire of your radio, this end would connect into also the power wire of the reverse light. Again, it's just a pass-through, and this would send 12 volts through the harness up to your RCA end, and then this little green wire would go to the trigger wire of your radio, cycling that radio over to the reverse mode as soon as it sees 12 volts or when you're backing up. Now you can power your camera in two different ways, either on accessory or simply off the power and ground of your reverse light. The simpler way, with the fewest features, would be to hook your power and ground to the positive and negative of the reverse light in the tail light housing, and also connect your green wire to that positive wire as well. That not only will power the camera when you're backing up, but also send 12 volts through your trigger wire to the other end, to the trigger wire of your backup camera. So this will cycle that radio over to reverse as soon as you are backing up. The downfall of this is the camera is only useful when in reverse. So unfortunately, if you want to use your camera more than just in reverse to check on your load or going down the highway, it's not going to work for you. You will get a black image. The option 2 would be to power the camera off of accessory, which does require a little bit more work. But what we can do is, instead of powering our camera off of the reverse light, power and ground, we'll actually combine these together to loop it through. These won't connect to anything in the back. This end we're going to hook to accessory back behind the radio. Just snag accessory power off the red wire of our aftermarket radio harness. Again, this is just a pass-through. These will be connected together, but not connected to anything else in the tail light. And then we'll still ground the camera in the back at the tail light. And what that's going to do is, as soon as we send 12 volts to that, it's going to power the camera as soon as the radio is on. The downside of this is now we've repurposed our trigger wire to be a power wire, and if you don't have a trigger wire anywhere available up front in your cab, you're going to have to run another wire with this along the frame rail for a trigger wire, because again, we repurposed this to power the camera. So two different ways. Both ways require a little bit of effort. The easiest way would be just to power the camera off the reverse light, but take a couple of extra steps further, and you can actually unlock more features with your camera depending on the radio you have installed. All right, so what we've done here is we went ahead and split loomed everything. We split loomed both runs that connect to the camera itself, and that'll going to allow us a little bit more protection as we run this along the frame rail of the truck. We're about done here at the bench. Next we need to do is go ahead and grab our bezel. Let's head over to the truck, remove the old bezel to get the new one installed. Alright, so we got the old bracket out and we have our new bracket. What we're going to do is transfer over the key cylinder and the logo here. Outside of that, that's it. And then we can put this in the packaging and go ahead and get this guy installed. Alright, so we got our key cylinder transferred over. Now our logo design is actually a little bit different on this truck, so it's not going to be moved over exactly. We may have to just get some double-sided tape and tape it on. But for now, we got all our operating functions all done. So at this point of time, we can take our new bezel here. Let's head back to the truck, get it installed. Alright, so we got our assembly all back in. We got our clamps all back on. You see the camera there. All the 10mm nuts are back on. And then we ran our camera wire. We actually zip tied it. Now, if you notice, there is a center support, but it doesn't go all the way through. It's unfortunately sealed, so we have to go around. At least in our specific tailgate, so we went around that center support. And then we drilled a 3/4 inch hole, as you saw. Put a nice grommet in there, looks nice and clean. Fed our wires in there. Obviously one wire goes all the way to the radio, to the camera input, and the other wire goes to our reverse light. So it goes out, we zip tied it there. We'll go under the truck, but we do need to pop the tail light out so we have access to the positive and negative of our reverse light to make those connections based on which version install you're doing. So with this all done and completed, we can now reassemble the back tailgate. Alright, so this is our reverse light harness. Positive is going to be blue, negative is going to be black. Again, if you simply just want to power this off of the reverse light, you put your red and your green wire. So this is your accessory and this is your trigger wire. You're going to hook it into the blue wire. The black's going to be going to your black or your ground. You can use T-taps. We're going to solder into that connection. If you're going to power it like we're going to do, we're actually just going to use this green as a pass-through, and we're going to hook these together. We're not going to connect it to the blue because we already have a trigger wire, backup camera from the previous install, and our ground will just go to the ground there. Alright, so we soldered this up here. We just need to put a little bit of electrical tape on it. And since we're repurposing our green trigger wire, we looped our red wire into it. And then we're going to connect the green wire to accessory up back behind the radio. So we'll go ahead and tape this up, zip tie it up, and reassemble the taillight. Now here up underneath the truck, that's where it comes down from the tailgate. We zip tied it. There's a little anchor point that we zip tied it to. Now, it goes two directions. One direction goes forward for the video wire RCA cable, and the other wire went up and over, up into the taillight housing. So we'll fish that up and make that connection at the taillight. This way, we zip tie it along the factory loom, which is just here on top of the frame rail. Moved our way forward, as you can kind of see, zip tying it along, up and over the rear axle. Continue along here, keep going down, up to the gas tank, continue along, up along top of the frame rail. Now we fished it up and over the frame rail there, you can kind of see it. Keep going along, and then from here, zip to the long existing runs, come all the way down. Keep going along the frame rail, up underneath the cap. And then we went right up through that hole. There's no grommet there, but it is butyl or factory sound deadening that we just poked through and resealed up and around our wire. But there's a perfect place that we can pass our wire up to the floor. So we'll go top side, show you how to remove the panel and access that grommet. So we just felt that's where it comes out, up underneath the carpet there. So we have this wire here. We'll fish it up, go across, and then what we need to do is pull out a radio to make our connection. Now for us to go ahead and pull the radio out so we can run our backup camera wire from the kick panel up into the dash cavity, this guy has to come out temporarily. It's actually pretty straightforward, especially if you have just an aftermarket radio already in here. There's going to be a panel that we pop up here, and it's going to expose a couple of screws to remove. Then the rest of the bezel is just held on with clips. So let's go ahead and pop that up. Just like that. And you're going to have generally 3 Phillips screws. Okay, with those 3 screws removed, let's give the whole bezel a pull. Okay, so with the radio just out of the way enough, it gives us plenty of space to pull wire up into the dash cavity. All right, so we fished our wire up here. We bundled the rest of our wire because we had a bit. And we went ahead and plugged it into the reverse camera input. Generally on Pioneer radios here, they're going to be brown as an RCA input. Other brands are probably going to be yellow. Pioneer's a little bit different there. Now for the green wire, that's off our RCA cable, we actually connected or paralleled it into the radio harness's red wire. And this little extension off our main Pioneer radio harness. And essentially here, that's going to draw accessory power whenever the radio is on. Now, the radio has a reverse trigger wire, which is generally purple-white. Some brands are different. That has to be hooked up in order to tell the radio to automatically cycle over to reverse. In our instance, we repurposed our trigger wire to be an accessory wire because we want to power the camera more than just in reverse. Now, because we do that, that may require you to run one additional wire along with your video wire as that backup camera trigger from the reverse light positive up here, because you'll need to tell the radio somehow that you're backing up. Now, again, the easiest way would be just to power the camera off of reverse light, power and ground, and simply use that green wire as the trigger. Now, with our video input connected, and we also have a reverse trigger wire all done, if we go ahead and put it in reverse here, cycles over, there is our reversed image. Looks awesome. Pull it out of reverse. Perfect. Now, if it doesn't work for you right away, always go into your camera settings to make sure your camera is set to on. Ours is currently set to on here. And we set the battery so that's good. Now, in our instance, since we're powering our camera more than just from reverse, if we go to camera view, we can actually utilize that camera more than just from reverse. That's about it for this install. We didn't install this radio, it was already here. But if you're interested on what to use for your radio install, we can still link those parts in the description. We also did an amp and sub install on this Frontier, so if you want to see that video, we'll link that video down in the description. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.